I don't know where I got this idea from, that America's evangelical Christian constituency actually did believe in at least some of the things that they said out loud. There's no earthly way Donald Trump can become president after boasting about grabbing women by their genitals on a regular basis. And I still don't understand why he could still become president after doing that. We now know, at least from this court case, that he was not just talk. I mean, if you read the detail, and I'm not going to share you the detail from the case because it is graphic, but it essentially reveals that his modus operandi was more than mere grabbing, shall we say. And it comes as a surprise, I think, to nobody to discover that he is grim, he is gross, he is monstrous, he's hideous. And yet he got away with it. He got away with boasting about it. And I still don't understand why. I had one weird insight, perhaps, into what was going on, but I still didn't fully understand what it taught me. And that involved the widower of the murdered MP, Joe Cox, being accused by former colleagues of inappropriate behaviour at work. And that, I think, the timings, well, they were, weren't they? It's 2016. It was the day that Farage unveiled that disgusting Breaking Point poster. And my inbox, which at the time was slightly overpopulated by kind of what would subsequently become known as gammony types, my inbox filled up with people saying that I was going to start sticking up for him or I was going to start defending him. And I remember thinking, what are they talking about? It happened before I came to work. It happened overnight on Twitter. And I was thinking, what are they talking? Why would I do that? Why would I come to work tomorrow morning and do... And I thought, because we've got similar views on immigration, is it? Or we've got similar views on racism. So because I've got similar views on racism to this person, I will not be criticising or condemning them for the things that they are accused of. And I don't get that. I presume that was what we call projection.
I think guys like Trump and Farage, right, they're not best thought of as politicians. They're not chosen on merit. What they are is cult leaders. So the people who are loyal to them are kind of rabidly loyal to them in an irrational way, in the same way you'd be loyal to a religion or a king. Now, there's an initial element, like Trump will have initially gained support by posing as a billionaire and Americans worship wealth.
Yeah.
Or maybe on an emotive single-issue topic. For Farage, obviously Brexit. For Trump, maybe the money, maybe pro-life, maybe just hating Obama, which a lot of people did because, America. But once they've nailed their colours to the mast of one of these guys, it's not about merit anymore. It's not about what do they get. It's not about can you justify the E Jean Carroll thing. They'll just say what they have to say. A bit like when you say if you ask someone, why does God let bad things happen to good people? Oh, mysterious ways. Once you've drunk the Kool-Aid and gone into someone's cult, there's no limit to the mental gymnastics.
But what am I getting in return?
What's going on.
What am I getting in return?
Simply...
Because in a cult it would be eternal life, or we will survive when the world ends, or, the transaction is usually pretty clear. What do I get for joining that cult?
Oh, no, I think the main thing you get in any cult is belonging. It's you're in a team, and people need belonging. People crave that, and they love it. I'm on Team Trump. That's why you get guys saying in America, you had these guys wearing T-shirts saying, "I'd rather be a Russian than a Democrat."
Yeah,
it
doesn't mean anything, does it? It means nothing and everything at the same time.
Well, what it means is I am fiercely loyal to my team above absolutely anything else, including merit and rationality and reason. So your search for reasons for why people like these guys, I think the reason you'll never find anything is because there isn't a reason. This is an irrational loyalty that's kind of taken hold. The last thing
what would they say, do you think, if you said to them, why don't you care about him being a sex offender?
They'd say, well, civil cases are on the balance of probability and he got screwed. Or They'd say it's a witch hunt, or they'd say she's lying, or they'd say it wasn't like that.
But then that's why I take it back to the tape when he boasted about doing things like this.
Well, I mean, okay, so again, we can, the gymnastics are easy. You say, oh, he was showing off. He doesn't really mean that, but he thought the other guy would want to hear it. He was bigging himself up. He was whatever.
There must be a constituency that loves it, that actually wants to do it too, no?
Of course, no, you're absolutely right. There are real racists, real misogynists, real monsters, but I don't think his popularity needs to be explained by those people being half of the population. I think mostly it's the cult thing. It's easier to...
So they get to feel that they belong to the cool gang, even if, I mean, you know, cool is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Emma writes they have flags and signifiers. You can all chant together. You're in it. You're in the middle of it. It's intoxicating.
It's not just that. It's one more thing. It's easier, this is Sam Clements, it's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled, right? Because to fool someone, you have to overcome their intelligence. But to convince them they've been fooled, you have to overcome their pride, which people have more of. So once they've been fooled by Trump, even if you then show them evidence that they've been a mug for following him, don't want to hear it. I've got to stick with what I went with. Otherwise, I'll have to admit I was wrong. I think it's just crappy human nature, really.
Have a listen to this, because this is probably the point where he actually accidentally, such is his arrogance, his hubris, he became...
I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the... You can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the...
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
He's actually disgusting. He's grotesque. Unfortunately or fortunately. And you could sit here and say, well, you know, kings and emperors or even relatively ordinary aristocrats, if you go back to the 17th century, would buy and sell their own daughters by dint of dowries, and that there were no protections for women from misogyny or from abusive men until relatively recently. It's one of the great triumphs of wokeism. But to almost be proud of it, or to say fortunately or unfortunately, I'm going to play you to that again, because this is the stuff that Andrea Jenkins or Jacob Rees-Mogg or Nigel Farage, this is the stuff they're comfortable with. That's the point here. These people pollute our public discourse on an almost daily basis, and they are comfortable with this. I refuse to believe that a significant number of people listening to this programme are comfortable with this. I don't know whether naive is the word to describe those of us who sit there listening to this and still, after all these years, after he's been in and out of the White House, still don't understand how anybody could have excused him, let alone cheered him to the rafters. It is, for me, I think, incomprehensible.